going to want to quit because you are human. But you've got to know that you must keep going.
Every decision made, lesson learned, and lesson taught. And until we meet again, may your be continued.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good morning. As you are coming in, I'm on several platforms this morning, so I may have a little pivoting of the head, but I am here with you. Happy Tuesday to you. I pray that your week is going well. My name is Mika McLinden. I am the founder and CEO of Amazing Wear Rubies, and we welcome you to the ABCs of Finance moment. So we're going to jump in today because we have a pack topic today that you're not going to want to miss. So this particular moment, though, the ABCs of Finance moment, is all about providing tips and nuggets that enhance our financial literacy one step at a time. Because we have to make sure we are beginning to be right where we are. That's what's so important about this. And the pandemic has taught us nothing else. It has definitely taught us the importance of being prepared and the importance of making sure we have our finances in order. And that's what this is all about. And we believe that you can begin to be regardless of your status, right where you are. We are a Christian-based organization that is designed to encourage women to become the woman God created them to be. In doing this, we found that finances was a critical piece that so many women have been struggling with, and not just women, men also. So we have kind of zoned in on finances to really help individuals understand the basics, because everybody wants to talk about, the 401ks, your mutual funds, your stocks, your bonds, your IRAs, all these great things around investing. But we're finding that a lot of people are still struggling with just the basics, right? The basics of just knowing how money works and how we can really have a positive relationship with our money. So today, what we want to talk about on the ABCs of Finance moment is it's all about the funds. I know I didn't say Benjamins. It's all about the funds. And yes, it is. So, we believe that if we have the lamp, Psalms 119, verse 105, it says that the Lord is a lamp unto our feet, a light unto our path. If we have the lamp, and we talk about what the lamps actually stand for, right? We've talked about that actual acronym. And so I want to go through it with you again today. I'm going to get it up on the screen for you. There you go. So LAMPS is an acronym that we use to outline why it's so beneficial to understand the ABCs of finance, and even, of course, why it's beneficial to take our class, right? So starting with the L is for literacy. It's important that we enhance our overall literacy, our knowledge, and our skills, because we've got to understand how to make our money work for us. And again, I'm on different platforms today, so I'll be going back and forth. The A is for accountability, right? And accountability is just being a good steward over those things that God has trusted us with. M is for management. How are we allocating our money appropriately when we're making decisions about our money? Is it good? Is it a good decision? Is it a decision that's going to ensure we have a positive return on our investment, right? ROI. The P is for planning. This is a big one. Are you planning your income, your expenses, your savings, your investments? Are you planning those things? Yeah, that's going to be important, because we need to be able to tell our money where to go. And the S is for stability. This is a big one, right? Because we want a solid financial foundation. Okay, so that's your lamp, right? And we believe that if we follow those steps, we understand those steps, it's a light for us. It becomes a guide that's going to help us as we move and walk out this journey to becoming financially. So let's go ahead and get started, because again, we're talking about, it's all about the funds. So let's go ahead and get started today and start with, what are the funds, right? What are the funds? I want to talk about two funds with you today. The first one is your emergency fund. Emergency fund. So what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a fund that you have set aside to handle small, unexpected, unplanned emergencies. When I say small, I mean things like, I got a flat tire, I need to get this tire fixed, something came up at my child's school, I need, to pay for a field trip, I got a fever, I needed to run to urgent care. It's a small, unplanned emergency. And we're going to get into both of these funds. We're going to talk about the what, the why, the how, the where. We're going to talk about all those things as we walk through this, right? So the first one is going to be your emergency fund. The second fund I want to talk to you about today is a living expense fund. And this is a fund that is designed to handle large, unplanned, unexpected emergencies. Those things we really may not want to deal with, but sometimes life happens. The pandemic has taught us that. We had so many people that lost jobs during this pandemic. And if you didn't have a living expense fund set aside to help you with that time of unemployment, that time frame that individuals may have been or may still be unemployed can be a very, very painful time. So that's your living expense fund, right? So you have the emergency fund and you have the living expense fund that we are going to talk about today. And I tell you again, these are going to be two of the most important funds you have in your life. And I'm not talking about, portfolios. I'm not going to be talking about IRAs and 401ks. I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff today. I'm going to talk about the basics. And that's what these ABCs of Finance moments are all about. We're going to talk about some of this basic stuff to help us get a solid foundation under our feet when it comes down to our money. So let's talk about, why do I need them? Why do you need these funds? Well, I'm going to go back to something I just said a couple of minutes ago. When life happens unexpectedly, you want to have money set aside that is going to turn that particular emergency into an inconvenience. It's going to help you at that time in life that was unexpected, right? So when we talk about why we need them, let's get into what it should look like, maybe what you should have in there, how much you should focus on, all of that good stuff. Let's kind of dig into that to really support why we actually need an emergency fund and why we actually need a living expense fund. So, did you know that the average household expenses right now today, average household expenses today is $5,000 a month? Average household expenses. That means the average household requires $60,000 a year to operate, to function. 60 grand. We're not talking about a salary of 60 grand, because that salary is before taxes and deductions and all that. So we're not talking about that gross number. We're talking about the net amount that you bring home. The average household needs $60,000 a year to operate. So that's $5,000 a month. Now, here's what's sad and hard about that number that you see on the screen. The average household is operating off of $5,000 a month. But did you know that unfortunately, 60% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency? Yeah, that's a hard number. Approximately 60% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency. And what does that tell you? It tells you that we have a lot of people living above their means, right? And we have a lot of people that's not prepared for when unplanned, unexpected emergencies happen in life. So we're hearing and beginning to understand why we need this emergency fund, why we need the living expense fund. So let's begin to break it down and begin to look at how much we may need in each fund, right? How much do I need in my living expense fund? How much do I need in my emergency fund? And remember, they're serving two different purposes. So your emergency fund is going to be for those small emergencies, those small things that come up like a flat tire or like you had to run the urgent care. These are going to be small things that come up that your emergency fund is there to handle. So here's a rule of thumb that I would suggest to individuals. If you are a person making $24,000 or less, if you're a person making $24,000 or less, focus on building an emergency fund of a minimum of $500. And I know you're saying $500, that's not any money. I get it. I get it. I get it. We've got to begin to be where we are. When you have approximately 80% of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck, we have approximately 60% that cannot cover a $1,000 emergency. And check this out. We have 52% that have less than $10,000 for their retirement. We've got to begin right where we are. So I know 500 doesn't sound like a lot of money. I get it. I got it. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's a start. So if you are a person making $24,000 or less, and I know some of you guys are saying, why would you use $24,000? Who can survive off of that? You have people that's in that bucket. Everybody doesn't make, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a year. Everybody doesn't make that. People have to begin to be right where they are. So we want to be mindful of that. And the goal here is to help those begin to be where they are, not where you are, where they are. So if you are making $24,000 or less, I want to encourage you to work on building your emergency fund up to $500. That is going to help you stop getting into additional debt. It may not sound like a lot, but think about those times when you've had to swipe that credit card for $50 or swipe that credit card for $75. That $500 emergency fund will help. It will give you a start. Now, if you are a person making $25,000 or more, I would encourage you to get a $1,000 emergency fund. And I know you're saying that's still not a lot of money. Again, this is for those small, unplanned emergencies. This is not going to be the end all be all. This is not going to cover everything, and that's okay. It's a way for us to start. Okay, so I want you to get to $1,000 if you are an individual that is making more than $25,000 a year. Now, with the Amazing Real Rubies, we are Christian based, and I love Proverbs 22:3 because it says, "The prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it." So we know danger is out there because we've been in this pandemic, guys. We've seen what this pandemic can do to people. We've seen it torture people. We've seen people lose their jobs, their homes. We've seen so much pain and hurt during this pandemic. So we need to get prepared. So I need you to focus on getting that $500 or that $1,000, getting it ready for your emergency fund. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit more information on this living expense fund, right? So now for the living expense fund, because we're talking about two types of funds here. Remember, emergency fund and living expense. For this living expense fund, how much money do you need there? So I'm going to go back to a statistic that I gave you earlier, and it says the average household expenses is $5,000 per month, $60,000 on average per year. So we're going to go with that $5,000, right? So your living expense fund is there to help you in times of unplanned emergencies that are large. Things like I lost my job, some things that people can relate to since this pandemic. Things like inflation has gone up such that my household needs have increased. And it's increased more than $500 or $1,000 that I have for an emergency fund. Your living expense fund is there to cover those things that you really didn't plan for, but you have that safety net for. So what do you need in that living expense fund? Here's my rule of thumb for you. If you are a family with a volatile income, now what that means is you are in a business where your monthly income fluctuates. That's what I mean when I say volatile. It's going to fluctuate. You may be a beautician, or you may be in sales. So you don't have a solid base salary. You're looking at a job that your paycheck fluctuates, right? It's more volatile, more fluid. If you are a family in that particular situation, which doesn't make good or bad, hey, those work as well, right? I would encourage you to look at saving a minimum of 6 months living expenses. Now, that may sound like a lot, especially if you're at $5,000 a month on average, because 5 times 6 is 30. So that's $30,000. But again, it's all about beginning to be right where you are, right? So if you do it 1 month at a time, take your time and get there. But if your paycheck is volatile, if it fluctuates, you want to be a little bit more prepared, just in case, right? I'm sure there are some folks out there when the pandemic hit. I'm sure there's some people that said, you know what? Oh my God, what I would not have given to have 6 months of my salary saved. Taking that average, if it's volatile, oh gosh, 6 months would have been great, right? Now, if you are a family where you are salary, meaning that your paycheck is pretty much the same every 2 weeks, every month, however often you get paid, you can kind of bank on that number, right? If you're there, I would encourage you to at least, keyword at least, get 3 months. Get 3 months, because yours is a little bit more stable, right? And so 3 months kind of gives you that 90-day cushion to be able to go out, find another job, or go out, look at some other streams of income or things that you may need to do during this hard time. So that's okay. Now, I know 3 to 6 months isn't a long time. Personally, Amika-ism, I would love for everybody to have about 12 months. I'm telling you, I would love it regardless of whether you have a set salary or not. I would want everybody to have about 12 months. But this is about beginning to be right where we are, right? So sit down, look at what your household expenses are monthly. Again, the average is $5,000. That's just the average. That doesn't mean that's where you are. And look at where you are monthly. Take whatever number you're at, multiply it by the number of months you want to save. Don't stress yourself out to where you become discouraged, right? Begin to be right where you are. Take it one step at a time. If you really want to do 6 months, great. Start with month number 1. Start where you are. It's going to take some time to build that up. So often people think that we need large sums of money to help us become. How many of you know that the problem with money is not math? It's not a mathematical problem. We all know 1 + 1 = 2. Our problem with money is our behavior. Our relationship is not healthy. So don't worry about the big numbers. Don't think, oh my God, I spend $5,000 a month running my home. I need $30,000. She said 6 months. How am I going to get $30,000? Don't go there. Start where you are. Get 1 month first. Then build on to that. Get 2 months. Build on to that. Get 3 months. Keep it going. You can get there. The key is for you to start. So let's talk about, okay, I hear you. I hear about starting. Got to get it good. Now, where do I put this money? Because, if it's in my hand, it's gone. Some of us, we like, hey, I got a little ching-ching. We're going to spend it, right? I get you. I got it. I would encourage you for your emergency fund and your living expense fund, because remember, these are your funds that you need to get your money on, right? Your hands on, not your money on. You need to get your hands on in times of need, right? So these are accounts that you don't want tied up. These are accounts that you want easy access to. So you need to put it in something like a savings account, which really you're not going to make a lot of money on that, but this isn't about making money. This is about having money for when those unexpected things happen. So forgive me, think I got a little something in my eye here. So you want to look at a savings account or a mutual fund account, because these are some things you can go ahead and go run to the bank, get your money out, do what you need to do. You don't want it tied up in investments and things of that sort. You don't want to have to worry about penalties or meeting certain time frames before you can get to your money. I really do have something in my eye here. My apologies. Bear with me, please. But you don't want that money tied up in some type of an account that you can't get your hands on. So you want it in a liquid account, pretty much where you can just get to it, withdraw it, and use it when you need to. So again, I would encourage you to look at some type of savings account or some type of mutual fund account. I would encourage you to look at that. So then once you get your 1,000, right, or you get your 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, or you get your 500, wherever you're going, again, look at putting it somewhere where you have easy access to it in the event of those emergencies. Now, some of you may be saying, okay, I hear all of that. I get it. I understand what an emergency fund is. I understand what a living expense fund is. I understand why I need it. You know, the pandemic has taught us that. I get it. I got that. I understand how much I need in each fund. I even understand where to put the money as I'm saving it. But how do I get started? Right? So many people, well, how do I get started? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of tips today, but I'm also going to encourage you as you think about how can I get started. I'm going to encourage you to go to our website, Amazing Rare Rubies. I'm going to put that up there for you too. There you go. www.amazingrarerubies.com, because on our website, we have a tab called the ABCs of Finance. Now I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to give you some tips on this as well, but I'm also going to show you and direct you to where you can get additional information if you're willing to start investing in yourself. And yes, I did say investing is great when we can get things for free. It is great when we can improve our knowledge and grow our literacy one step at a time, and it's not costing us anything but time. That is great. But sometimes I'm a huge believer when it comes down to your finances, you have to be willing to invest in yourself. So go to www.amazingrarerubies.com, and on there you'll see our ABCs of Finance page, and we have a class starting on March 15th. It's a Tuesday class at 7 p.m. And then we have another class starting on March 26th, which is a Saturday class at 10 a.m. Now the March 26th class is almost sold out. Because we limit our class sizes, because the goal here is to make sure that individuals are truly walking away with some great information that they can apply on their financial journey immediately. The 3:15 class, which is on a Tuesday, that's more so for individuals that's working, may not be able to use their Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning because they have errands and things like that to run. We have more availability in that Tuesday's class, but in this particular class, it's a 4-part series, right? So it's going to be 4 Tuesdays in a row or either 4 Saturdays in a row. And in this class, what we're doing is we are teaching individuals how to attain debt-free status, how to budget down to zero, and how to create cash flow. And so in teaching individuals that, we're also showing them and answering the question of how you can get started, right? So I'm going to give you one way to get started right now. How about that? And you get that one on the live. So you don't need to invest. And by the way, the class itself is for all 4 parts. It's $100. It's $100 investment. And $100 is not a lot of money. We spend that, going out to eat. It's almost, you can spend it in a tank of gas right now. Right? It's not a lot of money, but it is an investment for you to learn and enhance your overall financial literacy. We do not want to be caught off guard like so many were when the pandemic happened. We don't want that to happen again. So yes, there is a cost for the class. It's $100, as I said, for all 4 classes. But let's talk about how you can get started. I know that's what you're waiting on, right? So you're going to give me a pointer, Mika, on how I can actually get started today. So here's what I would encourage you to do. And I'm not just going to give you any little pointer, right? I'm going to give you a good one, right? I'm going to give you a good one that you can literally start doing today. So what I would encourage you to do is to sit down and assess what we call your small stuff factor. We talk about the small stuff factor in our ABCs of Finance class. This is where you're going to tally, track where you are spending money frivolously. Small stuff factor. Now, I'm a coffee drinker. I love coffee. I have coffee every morning. And this is not a pot shot or anything like that at anybody in the coffee business. But one of the things people can assess is, are you buying coffee every morning or are you making your own at home? Small stuff factor. I can go buy a tub of coffee for about $7 or $8. And that's going to last me a while. I'm going to make a lot of cups of coffee with that. Versus going to purchase coffee every morning on my way to work. That is a small stuff factor. Begin to be right where you are. The first time I did this exercise and I sat down to assess my small stuff factor, how I did it was for 30 days, I tracked my expenses. That's right. For 30 days, I tracked my expenses. When I finished, I was like horrified. I added up my receipts, tallied where I had gone, stopped at different stores, picked up this on the way, bought this, went out to lunch here. All this spending that I didn't have to do, but I did it because it was convenient or it was easy or somebody else was doing it. So I was trying to hang with them, right? You know how that goes. We like to do stuff like that. Sometimes that's not good for us. Mine added up to over $600 and I was living paycheck to paycheck. That's pretty bad. $600 spent on stopping here, stopping there, picking up this, grabbing that. And we see a red and white sign and see sale and go, oh my God, I got to have it. Right? Not necessarily. My small stuff factor was $600 plus. But I was broke and saying, I can't save any money. Every dime I'm making, I'm spending. I have to spend it. I need these things. Sit down and assess yourself. Do your small stuff factor. That's a big tip, guys. Track your stuff for 30 days. Start now. I know it's not the first of the month or the middle of the month, but start today. March 8th, April 8th, sit down and add it up. And when you add it up, see how much small stuff blew money on. And then come back and look at your emergency fund versus your living expense fund. You can do this. Yes, you can. You can do this. It requires a behavior change. It requires a mindset change. It's okay to be different. And trust me, if you want financial stability and then financial independence and then financial freedom, you must be different. The norm says paycheck to paycheck living. The norm says less than $10,000 for retirement. The norm says don't have $1,000 for an emergency. I don't know about you, but I'd rather be abnormal all day. I'm good. Abnormal, that would be me. I don't want to be normal if that's the norm. So please, please, please sit down, do your small stuff factor, assess it, begin to be right where you are because your becoming is in you. God already gave it to us. We just got to cultivate those things. As always, with Amazing Rare Rubies, we pray that this time has been valuable to you. We always encourage you to keep God in every decision made, every lesson learned, and you guessed it, every message taught. Again, you can visit us at www.amazingrarerubies.com. Don't forget those particular classes are coming up. Go to the website and sign up for them. We hope to see you there. And until next Tuesday, you know what to do. Make it a Ruby Day. Thanks.
You are going to want to quit because you are human. But you've got to know that you must keep going.